PSG, the current treble winners, who scored 5 past Inter, 4 past Real Madrid, and 4 past Atletico in a matter of months, tasted their own medicine. An incredibly impressive Chelsea side literally ruled over the best team in the world and became the best team in the world. This is an obvious exaggeration, but when you win the Club World Cup, maybe it actually makes sense. And what about the billion-pound mess that everyone was talking about? Who's laughing now? With Todd Boehly in charge, Chelsea knew they needed time, and they're now gaining momentum just in time for the new Premier League season, which every true Chelsea fan dreams of winning. Realistically, if we remove Man City and Liverpool from the equation, Chelsea are the last team to have lifted the Premier League trophy. Of course, that was 9 years ago, in 2017, but this does give us reason to believe that Chelsea are considering breaking the Man City-Liverpool monopoly in 2025-26. They have all the necessary tools to do it, but to understand how they might achieve this, we have to go back to the beginning of the Todd Boehly era. Following a somewhat controversial takeover in 2021, when former owner Roman Abramovich decided to step down, American businessman Todd Boehly and his consortium, Clear Lake Capital, paid more than £4 billion in order to acquire Chelsea Football Club. Apart from that, he spent another £1 billion on transfers across 8 different transfer windows. At first, things looked quite messy indeed. 8-year contracts, an entire squad of teenagers and misfits. There was no plan, no system, and, frankly, no results. Pundits called it a circus. Fans mocked them as a youth experiment gone wrong. Every week felt like another failed chemistry experiment on the pitch. Last summer, we all remember the jokes about a video on social media in which the entire Chelsea squad was training in the gym. But here's the thing, it wasn't random. Behind the noise was a long-term strategy to secure elite young talent before their value increased. Chelsea didn't buy a team for the present moment, they built a squad for 2 years later, and much beyond that. And guess what? That time has arrived. With the right coach, Enzo Maresca, and players finally settling into their roles, that once laughable project is showing frightening signs of cohesion. The billion-pound gamble? It might actually have worked. Here's an important detail that nobody returned to following their Club World Cup triumph. When Mauricio Pochettino was sacked in the summer of 2024, fans were stunned. Many saw him as the steady leader that Chelsea needed after years of chaos. Under his leadership, the team showed promise. They qualified for Europe and played with spirit. His departure sparked doubt everywhere. It wasn't just surprising. Some fans even called it scandalous. This was at a time when Chelsea were really starting to gain momentum. Then, when the new coach was announced, many people weren't familiar with him, at least those who didn't watch Leicester in the Championship. The Foxes convincingly finished first in the 2023-24 season and secured promotion around a month before the end of the season. Then, Maresca left Leicester and joined Chelsea. Now, with the Italian in charge, nearly every Blue has switched sides. His methods are celebrated and his results are unquestionable. Maresca, a former Man City assistant under Pep Guardiola, has imposed a crisp, structured philosophy. Pochettino is also clearly very good, and his football has won the hearts of many throughout his managerial career. However, his fluid, instinctive approach, it's now evolved into a reliable positional game anchored in a 3-stage structure under Maresca: build-up, high press, and vertical transition. When in possession, they primarily use a 3-2-4-1 or a 4-3-3 formation with inverted wingbacks, fullbacks who move into midfield to create a numerical advantage in the centre. We must also mention Reece James's brilliance against PSG, a traditional offensive fullback who played brilliantly as a defensive midfielder alongside Moises Caicedo. It was an absolute masterclass, and the most refreshing thing is that he's put his injury troubles behind him, for now at least. Of course, depending on the circumstances, James is playing as a defensive mid, but originally, that position next to Caicedo is occupied by Romeo Lavia. Enzo Fernandez and Cole Palmer occupy the half spaces ahead, compressing the opposing team's lines. In summary, Chelsea start most of their games in a passive role, but when they sense weak spots in the opposition, they exploit them. This is what happened against Luis Enrique and his team. In terms of the pressing, Chelsea set an intense pace as Maresca emphasized an aggressive high press designed to stifle PSG's build-up play early on. This surprisingly suffocated the Parisians' rhythm, and limited their star players in the first half. Of course, we must address the clear weakness in PSG's game. They were clearly not performing at the same level as they were against Arsenal, Inter, and then Bayern and Real Madrid at the Club World Cup. Perhaps it was due to the summer heat, or simply the accumulation of important matches over the past 2 months. But this PSG team represented the old PSG with Kylian Mbappe, more than prime PSG that won 3 titles. As we said, when Chelsea sense a weakness, they strike immediately. Well, in this case, there were a couple of them. First, PSG's press. The Parisians were poor at pressing, and the third goal was a prime example of this. Parma received the ball in the middle and dribbled halfway up the pitch with acres of space ahead of him. Reaching the area around the penalty box, he found João Pedro with a precise through ball. The Brazilian then had the easier task of chipping the ball over Donnarumma. It looked simple enough, but that has been practiced hundreds of times at the Cobham training ground. You can be sure of that. Moreover, the left side was also very vulnerable from PSG, and this was exploited by Chelsea. Parma was teed up down that side to isolate Vitinha, while Malo Gusto and Reece James supported, creating a 2v1 overload. That pattern directly led to the first 2 goals. Particularly memorable was the second one, in which Parma's dummy made all the difference. He started the attack after a long ball from Levi Colwill, guarded the ball, and then his body feint led to a wrong decision by Vitinha, who covered the overlapping winger, while Parma put the ball on his left foot, striking it into the back of the net. Of course, when we're putting Chelsea and Premier League champions in one sentence, we have to be completely honest with ourselves. The Blues still have weaknesses, and if you want to win the English title, you have to be close to perfect in every department. Because just look at what Liverpool are doing. They won the league in 2025, basically lost only one key player in Trent Alexander-Arnold, and got instantly reinforced with Dustin Kirkez, Jeremy Frimpong, and Florian Wirtz. And the icing on the cake? It could be Alexander Isak, who is reportedly linked to the Merseyside, as Liverpool are interested in strengthening the front line, which would practically make their attack the best in the league, and certainly one of the best in Europe. Arsenal are also keeping it strong this summer, a backup goalkeeper, keeper Arrizabalaga, a brand new centre-half in Christian Mosquera for £16 million, defensive mid Christian Nurgo for £10 million, a winger Noni Madueke for £52, and the most premium, or at least as of now, Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad for £56 million. Now, there are 2 more incoming signings for the Gunners, as both Eberechi Eze and especially Victor Gyökeres are expected to arrive for a combined fee of more than £100 million. All of this comes to show us that Chelsea definitely has a huge competition ahead of them. And absolutely, Man City, who made some smart but very effective deals, acquiring the services of Tiani Reijnders, Ryan Cherki, Ryan Aitnouri, and Marcus Bettinelli. Together with $200 million splashed in the winter, City are again on the rising end of the spectrum, following a disastrous 2024-25. So, what's going on at Stamford Bridge when it comes to signings? First and foremost, we have to talk about the Nico Jackson situation. Since his arrival 2 seasons ago, he really did look like Boehly's long-term number 9. He scored 14 Premier League goals in the 2023-24 season and played a key role in their Conference League win. But at the CWC, his performances were flat, a red card in the group stage against Flamengo, and minimal impact despite starting as the designated striker. And by the final, he didn't even make the bench, dropped in favour of new signings João Pedro and Liam Delap, who both bagged 3 goals apiece. And while Jackson's statistics for Chelsea have always been fairly decent, despite him missing sitters, what we have seen from Delap and especially Pedro so far is completely different. It's no lie to anyone that both the new signings are multiple times more talented than Jackson. Just look at the way they're controlling the ball or dribbling with it, and you understand the whole picture. Even Delap, who entered the pitch in the second half, had 2 clear chances for goals, but was only denied by Donnarumma. And the funniest thing? It's that Jamie Gittens just arrived from Dortmund, which gives another luxury problem to Maestro Maresca. Now, Chelsea's Club World Cup triumph is more than silverware. It's proof their billion-pound rebuild works. With Maresca's clear structure, blossoming young stars, and smart summer buys, they're scratching at the Big Three's door. Plug 1 more defender and a solid keeper, they'll be a top-tier menace, not just a dark horse. The Premier League truly has a Chelsea problem now. So, guys, what's your opinion? What did the Club World Cup teach us about Chelsea? Because, before the final, Everyone was hating on them for having an easy path, but then the win over PSG, that completely changed their minds. Also, if you enjoyed that one, please consider subscribing to the channel or check out our latest upload, in which we talked about why La Liga will have a big problem with Real Madrid next season. See you there.